A political firestorm is raging. Opposition candidate Peter Obi is demanding President Tinubu's resignation, citing the UK Prime Minister's planned exit and what he calls a monumental failure on power, security, and the economy. The presidency fired back, dismissing Obi's call as childish and pointing to recent APC electoral wins as proof of public support. Before that could settle, the Senate passed a landmark bill creating state police forces across all 36 states, a direct response to the insecurity at the heart of Obi's criticism. But the vote was marred by a 30-minute electronic system crash, forcing all 88 senators to vote by a show of hands. Adding to the drama, a court on Friday overturned the NDC's registration in a logo dispute with the Peace Movement Party, throwing Obi's 2027 presidential bill into legal uncertainty. The party has vowed to appeal, insisting it remains on course. Executive Director, Development Specs Academy, and a Professor of Strategic Management and Human Capital Development, Professor Ikechukwu, joins us now for a conversation on this tangled web of political defiance, legal battles, and legislative action that will shape Nigeria's future. Good morning, Professor Ikechukwu. Good to have you join us on the morning show today.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning. Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Kachi. Good to see you on this cool Saturday morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a cool morning for us in Abuja.
Indeed, in Lagos too, it's not bad either. Thank you, Prof. All right, let's talk about our country. Let's talk about the issues that are shaping, narratives all around. And you could hear, I'm sure, from the intro that I read out, the issues are quite plenty and important to how things shape out as we approach 2027 general elections. Mr. Peter Obi is asking President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to resign because, according to him, he has not lived up to expectations. And not just because of that, this is what with President Bola Tinubu also demanded of former President Goodluck Jonathan many years ago. But then it looks like Mr. Peter Obi might just be speaking, because given what has happened at the Lokoja court, he might not have a party to run on as presidential candidate of the NDC in January, February. What are your thoughts? How are you following all these dramatic, entanglements in the Nigerian political space? What are your thoughts, Prof?
Well, I'm following all of them with both interest, amusement, and concern. And I'll try to take them in tranches. First, Peter Obi's call for the president to resign is predicated, or in fact, if you break it down, it's not a call for resignation, but a statement that this president has not been performing well, and he enumerated the areas in which he thinks the presidency is not performing well, and he now concludes that for this reason, he should no longer be in office since he's not fulfilling the office of president. That's the point he's making. Now, before I go on to Peter Obi's reference to what happened in the UK, let me also state with a couple of other things around the matter of resignation. If you look at the experience of Nigerians, within 1 week of the president assuming office, the fuel subsidy thing and its impact on lives, it wrecked a lot of people. You could easily also have said that that's a good reason to resign, that the starting point of this president is a disaster. So if you look through, there are a lot of things on the basis of which you can call for resignation. If you look at the value of the national currency at the time he assumed office, and you look at its value today, you will say that, no, he has not managed our currency well. The value of the Naira has crashed. If before I could go with, in fact, let's take it back. The primary conclusion for me is that the tenure of the APC as a political party has consistently delivered disaster at the level of the economy, at the level of livelihood, and at the level of national security. Buhari came in, the Naira was between 197 and 200. Let's even assume it's 250. Then within a couple of weeks, if not days, it moved to 500 to the naira. So if you had planned probably the education of your children outside the country by the old rate, 200,000 will give you $1,000. So if you have 500, if you have $1 million naira, you're getting $5,000. Then all of a sudden, if you have $1 million naira, you can only get $2,000. And it's progressively degraded until where we are today. Now we have a new president. And if you then say, okay, let us look at the value of the national currency and use it to tell P2B that he's talking nonsense, it will not work. Because the naira moved from around 400 and something to what it is now, 1,000, always hovering around between 1,003 and 1,005. What kind of business can you do? What kind of economy would you have? So that's a reason also somebody can advance that, look, you've not helped us. But here is the counter-argument from government. They are telling us that, look, the naira has been stable for some weeks now. You know, it's now, it's not gone so bad, so it's been stable. And I ask, if you are stable at the point of death, are you getting healthier? So you find that even the indices for economic analysis, which is inherited from the West, is totally fraudulent. Now, moving back to the substantive issues that led to that demand, one, security. It's bad, and it's deteriorated, and I've said several times, take inventory of the number of incidents in the last 1 month, and I'll be generous by saying 1 month. Kidnapping, banditry, insurgency, attack on officers, attack on the military. For the last 1 month, compare it to what the security situation in Nigeria for the 10 years or even 15 years between 2000 and 2015, or even up to 2017, the events of the last 1 month is worse. So on that basis, I don't know what anybody is talking about security. You can't travel safely locally. Communities are being wiped out. Military facilities are being boldly attacked routinely. The young people kidnapped in the school, children kidnapped in Ogbomoso, in somewhere in the southwest, are they back? So when all these things are happening and multiplying, I don't know what you mean when you tell me security has improved. Maybe I went to evening school, so I no longer understand the English language very well. Now, you move from there then to the economy. We've also been told that, inflation figures have gone down, you know. I recall Tokpe was on air some 2 months or thereabouts ago and was with Charles on another program. I was talking about how inflation has gone down, that he should go to the market and see it. I don't engage in such arguments. All I will tell you is call your cousins in the village and ask them at what they are buying things now. Okay, it has improved. Rice probably was selling 10 naira before, and now it's come down to 9 naira. Fantastic. What was he selling last week? 2 naira. So these gains are delusional gains because they are not impacting the lives of people. So it's against the background of this comprehensive analysis of the minuses that P2B said, Oga, resign. We don't think you're doing well. But let's also note that we don't all have to agree with P2B. But if you evaluate his argument and you evaluate the counter-argument of the government, the conclusion somebody like me is inclined to make is that the government is, not that the government is not doing well, not that the impact is not, my view is that the government, in terms of impact of people's welfare, is not only not doing well, but is performing disastrously in a spectacular manner. It's one thing to speak and talk about macro indicators. You're talking to yourself. Now, that's it. But moving now to the matter of resignation, do I agree with P2B? The question to ask is Nigeria Britain? If Tinubu resigns today, what happens? The structures of government, will they change? So I want the criticism to be seen as a pointing to comprehensively to on a wide spectrum to a government that is not governing, a government where the indices are not in its favor, and a government who, no matter how we criticize it, is actually an extension of a subsisting history of misgovernment that began even with the party before Buhari. So bringing it now to the matter of resignation, number one, we are not running a parliamentary system, because if Tinubu resigns and the APC decides that, okay, Shettima should take over, you're not going to reconstitute the government, you're not going to have an election. So this is not a parliamentary system. Secondly, if he resigns, they are going to insist that somebody from the Southwest be put in. I will not look for money for elections, and all the shenanigans will begin all over again. Thirdly, if he resigns, they are already entrenched interests, benefiting from the kind of government they are running. In a nation that says it's capable of 4 billion, is it now, 400 million barrels, I think, a day, it fell and fell until it got to 800 because of bunkering. Now we're told, oh, it's gone to 1.6 million barrels. And can you see we're making progress? I ask you, you went to the farm you cultivated, you had 300,000 tubers of yam, and thieves are taking it, can only bring home 100,000. Then you manage to do 120,000. You say you're making progress. Question, where is the rest of your yam going to? Not a drop of crude oil goes into the international market without being traced. So you find that bunkering has become an independent industry. This same bunkering, you are now aware that there's a Nigerian who is paid 4 billion naira every month to make sure nothing goes wrong with our pipelines. As I speak, he's still being paid. As I speak, bunkering is going on. As I speak, we are being assured that government is in control. We can delude ourselves, but I'm not very good at that. I'm not very good at self-delusion. But having said that, let us also know that we are facing an elite crisis, leadership crisis, and governance and political party crisis. Because none of the parties is telling us what it's preparing to do. None, not one. In fact, the only party that even seems to be preparing for the election is the APC. 3 weeks ago, they had a retreat of Renewed Hope ambassadors, very well organized, by the way. And at that event, they indicated that the party now has 25, I think, individuals, committee of 25 for every polling booth, not every local government. Now, if they have that kind of structure, and then you have it at the ward level, state, local government, and up to the federal, it means that they are planning to deploy, and they are right now deploying over 5,000 people to consolidate whatever they have. But the opposition, they are still quarreling over candidacy and who is stepping down for who. They are getting, nobody is thinking of working together. And if tomorrow APC emerges victorious by all kinds of means, it's the sort of thing they did. They even have a standing argument, people saw us trying. So coming back to the substantive issue you raised, yes, the call for resignation is understandable. Whether it's feasible or realistic is another matter. Yes, Peter Obi's declaration or claim that the government is not performing satisfactorily, I share that view, because if you have a contrary view, apart from announcing the kind of things government announces at the macroeconomic level, I don't know who is having a good time, including the parties. You have a nation that for 3 years cannot say it expended its budget, where ministers cannot draw money to run the ministries, and where representatives of the presidency informed us that, look, some ministers have even used their own resources to run their ministry. How scandalous. Self-delusion is not a type of wisdom. Ignorance is not a point of view. Mischief is not policy. We need a properly governed nation, and the communication and reflexes from government are not giving us any assurances in that regard. Which is not to say that I'm seeing anybody who is showing he can do better. This is just an affirmation of what is on the ground.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you for that very powerful introduction to this conversation. And I just want to pick on a few things that you said. The last being mischief is not policy. And if you're stable at the point of death, are you really healthy? Now, that's a very valid question, because I think that at the same time, while we're dealing with our realities as Nigerians, you spoke about the security situation, you spoke about the price, the inflation, you spoke about the after effect of the removal of subsidy, and other issues that Nigerians are dealing with. While we're dealing with this, we're also dealing with the fundamental problem, which is emotion. Nigerians have become overly emotional, and I want to hear your thoughts about the overstimulation of the Nigerian people at this point in time with statements like this. Now, you've said that while that statement of resignation is understandable, it's understandable, but then what is the reality of it on ground? For instance, who will impeach President Tinubu at this point in time? Is that call for impeachment coming from his internal or his political party who is saying that they are going to remove him? If at all, he is not doing what he's doing, which of course everybody in Nigeria can attest to the fact that he isn't doing. So a statement like that, which was made in the sense that, oh, the president isn't doing well, he should resign. For Nigerians who are very politically sensitized and stimulated at this point in time, what does that sort of statement mean? Would you encourage further statements like this, that will just aggravate Nigerians and everybody is jumping at the call without really understanding what the implication is?
Well, you said it's a statement, and I agree it's a statement. Whether it will have a multiplier effect and lead to citizen action is another matter. So, first, every citizen has a right to express a point of view, including P2B, including my neighbor, including you, and including me. Again, in expressing that point of view, you must also concede that others have a right to a different point of view. For your own to prevail, you must then give good reasons and see how that can be supported by evidence. So you then speak of evidence-based commentary. And P2B's observations and the feelings of Nigerians about how they are feeling is evidence-based. There's no question about that. Now, would I encourage people to start making that kind of statements? I will encourage people to make statements that are within the law, which they believe, and which will not lead to disturbance of public peace. If they want to change the government, they want to remove Tinubu, as I speak, there's only one method for doing so, through an election. He is not going to resign, we all know that. So if we keep making that call, we'll enjoy the media visibility of being described as courageous. Yes, the man is not doing well. Other, quote and unquote, with all due respect, no offense intended, other dreaming activists will latch onto it and they will tell you, oh, the other time we called for the president's resignation, the other time with this, they have no capacity for mobilization beyond the events that are aired on popular media. So that's why we must migrate away from speech-making and headlines to mobilization. That's the point to note. Nigerians are not happy. Has it occurred to any of these people who are calling themselves opposition to carry out some kind of a poll? Organize a poll, make it nationwide. If you believe the government is doing well, say yes. The youth will jump on it. You see, when you speak of strategy and strategic thinking, strategic leadership, strategic communication, you have a political ecosystem that has a pathetic understanding of either the meaning or value application of strategy. Just do that. That's how you draw traction. You choose a pilot, you go and do it somewhere, you get your report. 90% of these people say the price of food is not coming down. Okay, this place, 90% of the people are saying there's nothing like security here. By the time you're done, that's how you generate citizen action. You're making speeches and you say you're opposing a man who is a super strategist and who has no apologies for the means he uses to get anything. How did he become president? What did he not do? Everybody. Even the presidency at the time, even the change of the currency of the national currency, even the invention of his own bishops to say that it was nagged, what do you call it now, can that endorsed him. He won the election 3 years ago, going to 4. You sat around for 3 years, speaking English, making speeches whenever anything goes wrong, on all the opposition platforms. And 3 years have passed. It's a few months to the election. And that's when you suddenly woke up and realized that you should start campaigning. What structures, and I don't mean the kind of structure they mean, what is the drill down of your activity to your frustrated followers in the last 3 years? Let all of them answer that. Atiku, P2B, who others? I think Makinde has joined. I'm sure Makinde, how he could possibly believe, and no offense intended, that he should come out for presidency, I do not know. But, so those are the issues on the table. Nigerians have a right to express their views. They have no right to disturb public peace. If you want to change a government, be part of the party, mobilize, convince people to change. You say, oh, you know, they are giving money. Even in the one of the Ekiti last week, each person got 15,000 to vote. What's your counter campaign? My dear followers, you know that these people are not doing well. They don't love us. The money they are giving us is money they stole, so it's our money. Collect their money and vote against them. Has anybody thought of that kind of campaign? They say they are politicians. They say they are intending to win. Against a bulldozer, you're using keke napep to block the road. Get real.
All right, Prof. There are two issues that I would like you to attend to, you know, maybe and merge them into one. The Senate, just like the House of Reps, has passed the state police bill. And of course, it looks like it will happen sooner than later, given the enthusiasm among practically everybody, including the state houses of assembly, where 2/3 of their vote will be required to pass it into law. But Mr. Peter Obi has said that he would prefer that the functionality of the law be delayed till after the elections, so as to avoid having governors use state police to their advantage during the elections. That's an important submission, given that he is not opposed to state police. But then the question will be, is he advocating for an election where he may not participate, given the fact that NDC, as of today, just like I said to you earlier, Prof, might not be on the ballot, except, of course, things change at the appeal court or ultimately at the Supreme Court. What can you see? How do you think that this will pan out? The question of the state police on the one hand, and the question that is bugging many people's minds as to the apparent desperation not to have Mr. Peter Obi and possibly Atiku Abubakar of ADC on the ballot.
The first point I will make in response to that is that we're having a national conversation about the possibility of state police. That conversation has gotten to the point where a law has been made indicating approval and endorsement of a state police. If you look at the provisions, nobody will tell you that even if they want to establish it before the elections, it's unlikely. And if you also look at some of the details, you're going to choose a police officer, you're going to get your State House of Assembly to approve the person you've chosen, then you're going to get the national to approve, which means at the end of the day, the approving authority for state police, for police commissioners at the state level is still the National Police Force. That's number one. Number two, the matter of personnel disaggregation and distribution will need to be resolved. Are you going to say that personnel of the police today, wherever you're posted, you become part of the state police? Then the matter of funding will also have to be addressed. What resources do you have in your place? Then the training and retraining of new personnel and the basic, what you call basic rules of engagement beside the law, all of these things have to be established. They will take time. But as for the concern about the police being used for the next election and Peter Obi's reasons for thinking that maybe we should not, I have no issues with whether it's established now or after the elections. If you establish it now, will it really make a difference to what is going on at the moment? Is the police not, in some cases, being misused? And even much more effectively now is under the federal government than when it gets to the state. So that call, reasonable as it is not one I'm very excited about. The first thing is to congratulate the federal government for taking the important step of doing what should have been done long ago, namely, acknowledge that we need state police. Secondly, quickly enact a law establishing, recognizing the need and saying it can be done. The next thing is implementation. So desirability is one thing. We desired it. Feasibility is another. Can we make it happen? Sustainability is another. If we make it happen, can we sustain it? Those are the three strategic steps on the table. Only the first one has been taken. So that's why I say we're having a conversation about state police. We have not established state police. State police is not the law. State police is not all the debate going on. State police will be an existing institutional entity with responsibility to manage security at subnational level under the imprimatur of state governors, taking directives from state governors in collaboration and working in sync with the federal police structure. So that's about that. There was another point you also raised that Peter mentioned. I think there's a second leg to your question, if I'm right.
You address the aspect of what Mr. Peter Obi said that he wouldn't want it to happen before the elections. But then will he be on the ballot? Yes, but will he be on the ballot given the issues?
Oh, okay, the NDC.
NDC issues, yes.
The NDC crisis, I tell you, I'm not sure anybody saw that coming. But if I knew that the NDC was registered on the basis of a court judgment, I would have been expecting this sort of thing to happen. Let's not kid ourselves. You don't leave loopholes when you're involved in any fight. And I've always been concerned about the assumption that that everybody will be of good behavior when there's a fight. It doesn't work that way. The assumption that it is the business of the APC to take care of you, create a level playing field. If you want to play football, go to a pitch. It's usually level and with grass. But some people even play when there's no grass. Football is not. Football is more like a wild forest with boa constrictors, crocodiles, falling trees, poisonous spiders, dangerous animals. That's what politics is. So when you bring out your wounds, see what they did to us in Rivers. When you bring out your moral point, and that's the only thing, while you're making all these points, make sure you're digging in. Because everybody will tell you, everybody who is interested, who was part of the obedient movement will say, we know Peter won, no problem. Where are the votes? I go back to the yam example. You planted and you're sure your yam was 300,000. You bought so many hectares of land. And then you couldn't harvest. Others harvested your yam and you're saying it's a work of the devil. How many people did you deploy to have to protect the yam and then harvest and bring home? Those are the issues on the table. So yes, I agree with the point being made, but the other point, the other counterpoint is that, are you prepared? Are the measures that need to be taken being taken? Is there evidence that lessons have been learned? Who is preparing for anything? I heard that at the beginning. Take away all the quarrels among the various opposition parties about who will be presidential candidate, resolving issues that came up last night and is being resolved today. What else are they doing apart from what's going on in Abuja? So now I think the NDC has to do everything to get itself confirmed as registered and presenting a candidate. Already is running out of time. That needs to happen, and then mobilization pattern and form has to change. Dixon came out to make the point about the need for synergy between all members of the party who have followers, obedience, Kwakwansia, and the party itself. And let us not forget how Dixon himself got into becoming a governor and how he is and how he runs things around him. I recall when he was governor, we had gone to Rivers State in connection with a study tour on a program we were running for the military. And he received us. The first thing I noticed that was his chair was like a throne. And you had, what do you call, this railing that you put when there's a dignitary coming, leading up to it, and it's debarred. I said, boy, oh boy, this is a king. And you see his pronouncements. He's not going to make concessions to anybody. He's going to be sure he's an effective chairman, the way chairmen were effective in the 70s. Akinloye, we remember all of them. So, and the measure of that move of all interest is an important element. The other thing is for them to make sure they don't lose this. Nigerians will be deeply pained. Democracy will suffer. I also saw their interview. I think the party chairman, who was it? Yes, the NDC party chairman, Dixon is founder, gave an interview yesterday. In my place, they say that it is those who accompany a king that give you an idea of his stature and profile. A masquerade must have people drumming for it, must look strong enough to be frightening so children don't come to play with it. Couldn't they have got a better crowd for that interview of yesterday? Those are the things they need to pay attention to. In public communication, you're not the subject of your output. The target audience is not yourself. So you cannot expect to be satisfied with what you're saying and how you're looking and how you're feeling. And then by that self-assessment, which is actually incestuous communication, you say, yes, I gave it to them. You gave it to yourself. You pleased yourself. So NDC has to buckle up. Now the question on the table is Peter Obi going to be a candidate? And I say he had better be a candidate. Atiku had better be a candidate, even for the dignity of our democracy and for the credibility of the APC, and for it to have even a modicum of decency in managing the political process, because most of the measures are extreme. Look at the degree of defections or moving into APC, without APC paying attention to the fact that this can lead to implosion. If you're a PDP governor in the PDP state, and I'm the party chairman, for as long as you're in PDP, I'm the party leader. I'm the one everybody comes to. I'm the one people bring small bags containing what I don't want to mention to,
right, Prof.
in order to be relevant.
Yeah.
Now the governor decamps, and lo and behold, I've lost power. Of course, I'll do anti-party activity at some point.
Okay. All right, Prof, thanks very much. But before we let you go, I would like you to wade in on the issues of how the government's policies are being explained. You hinted about Tope Fashua's analysis of the state of the economy earlier in the program, but you see, of course, that the presidential spokesperson has waded in, and the First Lady, the wife of the president, has also waded in. On the one hand, we're debating how real the question of poverty is, and on the other hand, we're seeing that akara, corn, and kulikuli are now part of the debate. What do you see, Prof? Is it desperation or exasperation? Given that, on the part of the First Lady, for example, you can see sincerity, but then she's saying that all we can do, it looks to her like we've done, that we've tried as much as possible to give hope. Is this exasperation, or are you sensing that there is massive pressure in the land? Prof, it's a serious matter, Prof, as you know.
All of the above. all of the above. Mm. With all due respect to my friends and respected colleagues who are professional media people, government communication has been painfully incompetent. You see, many of those who speak, they are eager to show that government has not done anything wrong, and that things are perfect. And that's the first thing that needs to make you lose credibility. I saw Charles. I think Charles was with Boala some days ago, about a week. He couldn't even allow Charles to speak. So many of the spokespersons assume that for as long as they are talking and preventing you from being heard, they are winning and that people are believing them. Pure self-delusion. It doesn't work. There's a certain dignity and detail to public communication. And I'll ask you, because if we talk like they say, oh, you're saying government is useless. Contrast many of these people, how they convey government information with Malagi, who is the Minister of Information. There's a certain comportment that's necessary. There are details and attention. So you meet one, in less than 1 minute, he tells you 15 things government has done. You can't remember any of them, so he hasn't communicated. In another, you mention an obvious. Imagine the dignity of saying, somebody says, look, there's a lot of hunger in the land. What do you say about it? And I'm a government spokesperson. I say, I agree with you because I have cousins. I have siblings. There is hunger. Inflation is affecting them. But there's this question I will ask. Do you think the government set out to make people suffer and make them hungry? The answer is no. Look at this country. Events that were going on up to 2020, nobody who was watching it did not know that it will affect food production. So we are doing our best. That is not to say that the best has solved all problems. Then people will have some respect for you. Even as they are angry, you're on the same level of reality with them. But people are paid by government, they are doing nothing. In fact, you hear figures, look, we've created 300,000 jobs. I won't argue with you. Have you taken inventory of how many jobs were lost within the time you created the 300? And you include job creation. In the job creation, you include POS. Oh, POS operators are everywhere now. They are making money. I agree. I come out with a POS. At the end of the day, I probably have 20,000 as profit. What am I contributing to the economy? All of us are being given opportunities to earn money, but there's no production. I'm a governor. I have 2,700 special assistants. I don't know most of them, but every month I give them between 500 and 250 and 500,000. That is money they will expend. Nobody is producing. Because of security, hunters now join the military to protect the area. Hunting is an economy. It is suffering. So they are paid for joining the security personnel. They are not producing anything. You can go on and on across all spheres. We are demobilizing the productive forces of the nation, making it possible for people to spend, but providing nothing on which to spend, and therefore inflation keeps climbing. So when you look at GDP, oh, GDP has moved from where this place to this place. Please, have you ever made GDP walking on the road? What I meet on the road are the human beings that I know. What I meet on the road in the supermarkets are human beings. You can have fantastic GDP, but it doesn't measure happiness. It doesn't measure actual impact and production. GDP can go up because three of us are doing very well, producing 90% of what the economy is moving out and they are counting. Everyone else is under the table. The tool of economic analysis has to be delinked from the questionable paradigms that we are using for the Bretton Woods institutions and all these other international agencies that when you listen to them, you assume that what they say about your economy actually points to the reality on the ground. It doesn't.
Professor Okeke-Chukwu, we want to thank you very much for your submissions this morning. Thank you, for bringing brilliance into the discourse.